Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to go through Equine Photography 101, tell you everything you need to know before you go out and shoot some horses. Hi friend. The reason why I want to go through this basically is because we've done a couple of videos on equine photography and I've seen a few things on social media that are potentially a little bit worrying. Good girl. Ooh. So we'll split this video into 3 distinct sections. I really hope that you watch all of them because they all will help you in your expedition to become a pony photographer of the ponies. So for this video, we're going to be using Vera. So this is Vera. Vera is a Knabstrupper, which is a Danish breed of spotted horse. They're sport horses. If you haven't already, please do press the subscribe button because it will help you grow if you find anything in this video useful. So the 3 sections of this video that we're going to go through is we're going to go through safety things, terminology so that you don't look like a tool, and shooting tips. So I'll split the video into those sections down at the bottom and we'll see how we go. So first things first, I want to discuss safety with you all. I'm not sure if you can see this, but we have steel toe-capped boots on. So it's really important when working with horses that you wear the appropriate clothing. Ideally, you won't want to be in contact or touching any of the animals that you're working with when it comes to horses because they can be too dangerous and it's just a safety risk. This is half a ton of animal that is liable to move around very quickly at any time. So it's really important that you keep safety as the top priority, and I really mean that. If you're not insured, you shouldn't be working with horses. You need to make sure that your insurance covers you when working with animals. We've talked about this. In terms of your clothing, make sure that you're wearing proper good shoes. Do not wear flip-flops, do not wear anything where your toes are out because those are big feet and they will hurt if they stand on you. The next thing to know, and really the main thing about horses, is that they're prey animals, which means that sudden movements scare them because their life is based on self-preservation. Any fast movements that you do or stuff where you have a horse alone by itself, it will be more wary. Different horses have different levels of spookiness. Vera is quite difficult to spook, but she will move away from us just like any other horse will. I would not recommend doing this, but as a demonstration, I'll show you that to move a horse away, you just make yourself a little bit bigger and louder. Go on. So the horse's main priority in its life is to avoid danger. And that's really important for photographers to know because if you're putting your horses, your clients' horses, in situations where they feel like they're in danger, we're going to have a problem. And that's a dangerous situation. So whenever you're working with horses, remember to stay really calm, really quiet, and don't make any sudden movements because you don't know how spooky that individual animal is and you could cause a serious accident. Horses can move very quickly in any direction, including upwards. So make sure that you stay safe as best as possible by remaining at one side or the other of the horse. Standing directly in front of a horse is very dangerous because if the horse spooks from behind, it will just trample you, run you over into the floor. And similarly, if you go to the back end, that's the kicky end. So you'll get kicked potentially if you're too close behind a horse and they get worried. I don't know if you can see that or not. There is a lump on the side of this leg. That is a kick mark from years and years ago in this very field that we've got behind us. Not from Vera, thankfully. And do not hold a horse whilst you're working with them on a photography shoot unless you know the horse personally. So just leave the owner to handle the horse, ask them to manoeuvre the horse around in whatever way they need to. Vera has had a really good upbringing working on lots of scary, spooky things, so she's pretty damn safe and you can swing stuff around and it's not a big deal. If I was to do this with a spooky horse, it'd be over there somewhere near that fence. So just make sure that you're staying super safe, let the owner handle them where possible. Should we go and look at some terminology? Okie dokie. So in terms of terminology, there's a few things that I think equine photographers really need to know, especially if you're coming into horses brand new. So in terms of the points of the horse that you may need to discuss with an owner, you have the withers. So the withers is this point here. It's the top of the neck, essentially, at the bottom. You have obviously the feet, which in horses are called hooves. So you've got the forelimbs and the hind limbs, and anything at the back end is the hind quarters. The horse's nose is called their muzzle, and they have their whiskers, which is the little beardy bit there, and they also have obviously beautiful eyes and eyebrows. One important point to note is that the horse's eye, the pupil, is more of an oval shape than a circle, and it sits horizontal. So that can be important for when you're editing. So in terms of the sides of the horse, you've got the near side and the off side. Don't worry too much about that, but essentially the side that most owners will lead from is this side. This side is the near side. The off side is the opposite one. So the near side is the horse's left-hand side, the left shoulder, that is the near side. Super quickly, we'll just look at tack. So this is a halter rope material here, and it has one rope that attaches to it to control the horse. However, in the UK, you'll probably see horses most commonly wearing a head collar. So this is a head collar. It's made of thicker nylon fabric, but you can get them in leather. And again, it connects with one rope. However, some owners may use a bridle to walk and control their horses. So you may see some horses in a bridle. It's good to know what a bridle is, so I'll just pop hers on. As you can see, the horse has a bit in her mouth, which is a metal bar. That's what's used for steering. So in your halters and your head collars, you don't have that at all. You have a lot of leather work, and one thing that's super important for photographers is just to make sure that the owner has popped all of the leather ends in their keepers. So this leather end here should be in this keeper here, and the same with all of the other straps. So you don't need to know the names of them all, but got throat lash there, brow band, nose band, cheek pieces, bit and headpiece. So your whole of your bridle is related to those. But the reins are your two ropes hanging from a bridle. So you'll know if the horse is wearing a bridle because it will have two pieces of rope coming from its face. If it's a head collar or a halter, there will be one piece of rope. If the horse is wearing a bridle, it will usually have a bit in its mouth. That's how you can tell the difference. So let's take this off of V and pop on the photo halter, which is the one that I use for my equine photography. Good girl, V. Okay, so in terms of the halters, I personally use a photo halter, which is handmade by Emma Emerald, who's an amazing equine photographer. I'll pop a link in the description below to this, but you can see the difference between a normal halter and the photo halter in terms of the bulkiness of that piece of kit. So your normal halter has usually got double rope, knots on it, and quite a large connection where the lead rope goes, whereas the photo halter is very kind of minimal in its look and feel. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert in putting these on by any means. We want to have one part over the schnozzle and one part over the ears. So just ask the owner to pop this on, but you will need to know how to hold it. We want to loop the head part over the head, like so, and then just loop the nose hook on the schnozzle bit. And when you've got that in place, just apply a little bit of pressure, and the halter should sit nicely with all of the complicated bits that are bulky right up there. The final bits of terminology are just for the speeds, the paces. So there is the walk, which is obviously the slowest pace. You have the trot, which is more of a jog. And then you also have the canter, which is a faster pace. Faster than that is gallop, which is what you see racehorses do. Final thing to note is that usually owners will like their horses to be stood square, which basically means that their legs are all neatly defined underneath them. I'll pop an example of a horse stood square here, but obviously you can also have the back leg separate with the back leg that's closest to the photographer extended backwards. That also is a nice stand. Let's move into section 3 of the video, which is shooting tips. In terms of photographing horses, there are a few tips that can help you out to make sure that you're getting the best out of your sessions. So, first things first is to use a good quality headpiece. So if the horse is used to having a head collar on, ask the owner if they can get a leather head collar and make sure all of the straps are in their keepers to make sure that it looks as neat as possible. If you're going to edit it out, it would be a good idea to consider something like the photo halter. I just find this one works well for me. So yeah, using the photo halter makes editing super easy. In terms of the actual equipment that you want to be using for equine sessions, using a wide angle lens isn't a good plan. So this is a 20mm 1.4 Sigma art lens. This is not a lens that I would ever use for equine photography. in my personal opinion. However, for equine photography, really, you can't get anything better or more versatile than a 70 to 200 2.8. A 70 to 200 will give you really good compression, and the compression that you get within the subject itself will make most horses look much better put together because of their bizarre proportions. I probably wouldn't shoot horses personally with anything less than 85mm. You could definitely go ahead and use something like the Sigma Art 105 1.4 for equine work, and it is something that I have used before. Using this lens is absolutely fine, but obviously because it is a fixed focal length lens, it's not as easy to zoom in or out for different variety within your sessions. So in terms of the aperture, it's also worth mentioning that. So this is obviously going to depend on the distance from you to the subject as well in terms of the depth of field available. I will quite happily shoot 2.8 with horses, but usually, you know, you might want to go a little bit more than that just to make sure that you've got most of the important things in focus when it comes to the front end of the horse. In terms of attention, you've got to remember obviously that equines, horses are prey animals, and therefore any sort of movements usually will make them jump, and you can spook them and cause an accident. So be very careful when it comes to how you get the attention of the horse. Always start quieter and smaller and then go bigger if you need to go bigger. I personally like to use horse noises, which you can get on an app. I'll drop a link to the app below. Or you can use things like rustly papers, vocal noises, that's going to probably get their attention. But just like dogs, you'll only have a short duration to grab that shot. And finally, in terms of posing, horses always look better when they've got a curve in their back, in my personal opinion. It tends to make even horses with poor conformation look better. So with that all said and done, we're going to go and shoot, which we will show you in another video. And if you have any questions, please do drop them into the comments box below. I'll try and answer them. Remember, with horses, safety first is vital. Don't do anything silly. Yeah, keep yourself and your clients safe. I'll see you all again soon. That are kind. You are a thief.